Has Pep Guardiola ruined football? I know it's a controversial take, and before we start, I'm going to add the caveat that I believe Pep Guardiola is the greatest football manager of all time. He's created some of the best teams of all time. They've played some of the greatest football of all time. And so there's no doubt that if you don't put him number one, he's at least number two. People debate whether it's Ferguson or Pep. Obviously, Ferguson built Manchester United into what they are or what they were. And Pep's been at the best sides in the world. He's had the keys to the Ferrari, but he's driven them very, very nicely. He's made sure that he's created some of the greatest footballing sides that we have ever seen. If you think back to the 08-09 Barcelona side, that was probably the most human incarnation of a Pep Guardiola side, a dominant Pep Guardiola side. They won the trebles. Pep's first season as a manager. It was a side that had Eto'o, Messi and Henry as their front three, and they beat Man United in the Champions League final. That was a great, great side, but then you think to the 2011 side, who again beat Man United in the Champions League final, but they had Busquets, Xavi, Iniesta in midfield, and the front three MVP, Messi, Villa, Pedro. In my opinion, the greatest club side that we have ever seen. And he took his talents to Germany, obviously won 3 league titles in a row at Bayern Munich, never won the Champions League there. And then he came to England and people said that he couldn't do it. He couldn't employ that style of football in England. It wasn't going to run. In his first season, he struggled a little bit. He didn't win the league. Chelsea won the league that year, obviously. But then he's dominated the Premier League ever since. And if you think about the Centurions of 17-18, or you think about the Man City side of last season that won the treble, he's created some of the greatest footballing sides of all time. And I think it's testament to his greatness that if you look at Pep Guardiola, I think he's managed 14 full seasons in his career and won 11 titles. The only managers to take titles off of Pep Guardiola are Jose Mourinho in 11-12, and that was an incredible Real Madrid team that got to 100 points, that scored the most goals in La Liga history. Ronaldo banged in 46 league goals that season. They were one of the greatest sides that Spain have ever seen. So that's one manager. Then you think to 16-17, Antonio Conte at Chelsea. Again, like I said, Pep's first season in English football, there was a lot of doubters. He had Claudio Bravo in goal, so that's already a handicap. And so he didn't win it that year. And then that Liverpool team under Jurgen Klopp in 1920 that were almost perfect up until lockdown and had been in epic title races in Man City before. So in the history of Pep Guardiola as a manager, he's managed 14 full seasons. Only 3 managers, Jose Mourinho, Antonio Conte and Jurgen Klopp, have taken titles off of him. Those are 3 of the greatest managers of all time. That just speaks to Pep's greatness. And I know I've rambled on, but I just need to caveat that I think Pep Guardiola is incredible. The reason why I'm making this video and the reason why I think he may have not ruined football, but maybe sanitized football, is because I watch football for a multitude of reasons. Whether it's the players, whether it's the managers, whether it's the narrative. But ultimately, I'm not an X's and O's guy. I'm a Jim and Joe's guy. I'm not Tactico. I'm not Umir. I'm not James Allcott. I love that side of the game. I do appreciate that side of the game. But ultimately, I'm watching football for not the analytics, the manalytics, the people that play the game, the 11 players that go out on the field and write the stories. And I think that Pep Guardiola's style of management has kind of, like I said, sanitized that slightly. Obviously, when you look at Pep Guardiola teams, you think about perfection, you think about ball retention, you think about making very few errors, thinking about not conceding that many goals and scoring a lot of goals. It's almost perfect. And the reason why I love football, you're going to get sick to the back teeth about this or hearing me talk about this on this channel. But the reason why I love football is because it's where subjectivity meets objectivity. And what I mean by that is the subjectivity is the narratives that surround the game and the discourse that surround and drive the game. And that happens normally or ordinarily throughout the week. And the objective side of football is when the first whistle blows on a Saturday or Sunday afternoon and the game is being played. When the result is in, that's objective. You can't argue with it. You can't debate with your mate about a result. You can debate with your mate about a performance and about how you saw the game, but you can't debate the result. The result is objective. And football is a perfect blend and mesh of that. And where I live and where I thrive is in the subjectivity. I'm obviously a sports broadcaster, so part of my job is to revel in the subjectivity and to talk about the game, because we can't do anything until the game is played. All we can do is talk about it and give our opinions about it. And that's what I love. I love to talk about it, and that's part of the reason why I'm doing this video. But Pep Guardiola has taken that subjectivity out of football. Because when you talk about Man City, there's always a caveat that has to be added, because ultimately the bottom line is they're probably going to win. And it's not just Man City, it's any Pep Guardiola side, whether he's managing in Spain, whether he's managing in Germany, or whether it's now when he's managing in England. When you're talking about it, I think that Liverpool have got a chance to win the title. I think that Arsenal have got a chance to win the title. The punchline of the joke is Man City are probably going to win the title because they've got Pep Guardiola, the greatest manager of all time. And that is to his credit, the fact that he's created this environment where his teams are now inevitable. Even though Man City might lose back-to-back games or they might drop points here, at the end of the day, they've got Pep Guardiola, they've got some of the best players in the world, and they're ultimately going to win the title. It's happened in 11 out of the 14 seasons that he's been a manager. So if you're putting your money on there, a Pep Guardiola managed side is probably going to win the league title. And that's where I have a slight issue with it, because I love football because of the people, the players. I love football because of the players that go out on the pitch and write their own narratives. I love football because of players like Ronaldinho, of Zidane, of Figo, of Raul, players of yesteryear, when football was more about the manalytics and the analytics. It's more about players going out there and winning games for their sides. And with Pep Guardiola, he has made football a manager's game. And I say a manager's game. He's made a Guardiola game. You see everybody, imitation is the sincerest form of flattery. You see everybody kind of copying what Pep Guardiola does, whether it's the tactics that he employs or the kind of personnel that he puts in certain positions. And it's admirable. It's incredible. What he's built it cannot be replicated. He's the greatest manager of all time. I've said it so many times. But what I get out of football is the imperfections. The fact that there are some sides that aren't perfect. If I look at the Arsenal side last season, obviously, you know, I'm a Chelsea fan. I hate Arsenal. I don't want to see them win anything. But I think an Arsenal winning the league title would be a throwback to a time where teams with imperfections can still win the biggest trophies. I feel like this day and age, you have to be almost perfect to win silverware. And that's an environment and culture that Pep Guardiola has created. And for better or for worse, it's here to stay. And until he leaves the Premier League or until he calls it a day in terms of management, I think that football's going to be in this interesting grey area where perfection is the goal. And the reason why I love football is because it's imperfect, and there are stories and there are narratives and there are stories to be told by the people who put the boots on and they get on the pitch every single Saturday and Sunday. So those are just my notions and my rationale when I made this video, when I was planning to make this video. I know that the title is wild. It's very clickbaity. It's very YouTube. Has Pep Guardiola ruined football? I wouldn't say he's ruined it, but he's definitely sanitized it. I'd love to know what you guys think. Let me know your thoughts in the comments below. Let me know what you want me to talk about next. And we'll be back with more videos very, very soon.